Just a heads up, this video will contain spoilers for the Formula 1 movie. If you haven't seen it, and I do recommend you go and see it because it is really good, then go ahead and do so, and we'll see you when you have watched it. Anyway, let's go. F1 the movie has just hit, and as a former media student and a massive motorsports fan, I have to say, I absolutely love it. Yes, it's sensationalized, but it's beautifully crafted, and you can tell the filmmakers worked hard to capture the heart of the sport while delivering that big screen Hollywood magic. I've enjoyed it so much, I've even been and seen it twice. This film is a huge win for Formula 1, whether you're a long-time fan or completely new to the sport. It's a cinematic masterpiece you could certainly get lost in, have a bit of a laugh with, and truly be engrossed by. It might not be perfect, but I'm certainly grateful that it exists, and it has quickly become one of my all-time favourite movies. With all of this in mind, EA Sports F1 25 dropped just a few weeks ago with a special Formula 1 movie campaign. You can actually play as Sonny Hayes and Joshua Pierce, reliving iconic moments from the film right in the game. We'll go through all 7 chapters of this and see what Codemasters have produced. And stick around to the end because I'll show you how to recreate the movie's opening scene from Daytona 24 using Gran Turismo 7. Let's go. So here we go, guys. We are here with the F1 25 movie DLC. I've got to say, really nice little bit of DLC. You can tell it's heavily based off what they do with Breaking Point, which is not a bad thing. I mean, there's a few little things I'm not overly impressed with, but in general, I think it's a really, really nice feature and highly recommend it, as well as seeing the movie. It's been one of the best movies I think I've seen all year, and it's very quickly become a favourite of mine, just because of how, you know what, I've been watching F1 since 2008, and I've seen the development of the sport in the public eye, and I know some people don't really like the Drive to Survive stuff. I've always said, as long as it doesn't interfere with the racing, if they've got to do it to make the money and everything like that, then go for it, because I'd rather see the sport in a secure place. Because I remember when teams were dropping like flies, you know, 2014, we lost Caterham, Mana Marussia just about survived and then fell apart 2 years later. So yeah, it's been one of those things really where if we find ourselves in a position with the sport in a better place and the teams can survive, even those at the back, then I'm all for it. But enough about my thoughts on the sports promotion. This movie it's a really good movie, I highly recommend. If you switch off a little bit from the realism, you'll love it. But in this first scene, which we're doing right now, it's basically just 2 hot laps and you've got to beat a target time. I'm doing all of this on the hard difficulty, not the expert. It's enough to make it a bit of a challenge, while at the same time being somewhat enjoyable, because I wanted to actually enjoy it. And unfortunately, I have had to edit out the cutscenes because I really don't want to get copyrighted. I've seen a few videos already get the strikes. So you can watch the cutscenes in the game, or you can wait for the movie to come out, because as I'm recording it, I'm actually recording this a few weeks later, and I think the movie has just about left cinemas, but it's still worth the watch, hands down, because it is a really, really well done film. A lot of time had been put into it. Now, you don't really get anything for the each individual challenge, but you do get stuff for completing the overall mode, which is absolutely fun. So in this first scene now, we've had Sonny Hayes do his test. Now he's back in F1 for a few races, and he starts making charges up the field. And of course, this being the first race at Silverstone, you've got to just basically charge through the field. And at this point, the car's slow, but it has had an upgrade package in the story, so it does mean that it is improved. And what I like as well as the filters on the screen to make it look a bit more like the movie is that also the car does actually evolve a little bit throughout this mode. And you can also see they've been using 2024 assets. So we go past Yuki Tsunoda in the V-Carb, and now we're going to go past Logan Sargent in the Williams. I did find it a little bit cheeky they opted in for the 2024 spec cars when really they have the 2023 asset. I don't see why EA Codemasters couldn't just put the two together and go, yeah, that'll work out. But so it goes. EA are cutting a few corners. Now, once we did the primary objective there, the next step is we now swap to Joshua Pierce from Sunny Hayes. And again, this is exactly like Breaking Point, where you can have a little bit of say with, you know, how things go, how you want to make the objective, but also it does encourage, you know, going to and from. So now we've swapped over. We're going to go down the inside in turn 1 on Magnussen. Well, not turn 1. You know why I say that's turn 1? Because for those who haven't watched F1 in a long time, that used to be turn 1. I don't actually know what turn number that is, but I have driven it, and it's fantastic. Now, once you get to the end of the mission, of course, what happens is in the scene, the guys basically hit each other in the final turn, and then that was it, game over, and everyone's annoyed. In this latter part of the campaign, the teams start to get some points at least, and they start working together a little bit closely. And of course, now we're in a position where Joshua Hayes has his best chance of winning, and Sunny Hayes is just holding up the entire pack. So we're going to make some moves first, try and catch up to Gasly before lap 8, and we're using the ERS quite nicely there to get past Daniel Ricciardo. Again, it's quite funny seeing some of the names like, you know, Ricciardo in the RB. Of course, he left F1 at the Singapore Grand Prix, and you've also got, yeah, some of the ones I mentioned earlier, so that's been pretty good, to be honest. But it's a shame that they just didn't go for 2023. So, of course, when it's the overtake, you have to make sure you get past. So now we've got past. It usually expects a nice clean move and just to hold the position for a few seconds, otherwise it might fight. And what's happened now is the rain has come in. The rain is coming in, and we now swap over to Hayes again, who has his best chance of winning. And we're on the slick tyre, and he opts out to stay on the slick tyre for the time being. Although Leclerc has gone to the intermediates, which is probably because of the water. If you know, you know. Yeah, Ferrari's an interesting one this year. And of course you can see their Sainz in the Ferrari as well, to showcase when this was. Of course, yes, the film was in the 2023 season, which there are a few little moments when you can tell something was filmed in 23 and some bits are filmed in 24. And now we've caught up to Verstappen. What happens is Hayes goes for a move in the final turn, has a bit of a horrific accident, which you could tell they were basing it off. I think it was a Formula 3 accident, if I'm correct. Please comment if you know the one I'm talking about. And now that Hayes is in hospital, he's out of action. We've got Luca Cortez as our teammate for a bit. He doesn't actually really play much in the actual film. He's literally just a reserve driver. I feel like they missed a trick not giving Cortez a little bit more of a role, you know, the threat of losing a drive, but, you know, yeah, I guess they didn't want to overcomplicate it too much, so, but he doesn't really have any impact on it. And now we have an upgraded car as well, designed to take the turns much faster. Of course, in the film, the story is they build the car for quote-unquote combat, to be able to cut through turns and to follow as closely as possible. It's a bit cinema, I know. But of course you do really feel it. It does feel like they've adjusted the handling on this car slightly throughout to make it a bit more grippy. Of course you can't do any setup work, so it just feels heavily optimized, which is fine. I'm playing on a PS5 pad, so I don't really feel too much difference. And there we go, we're cutting through people. Another driver making a little return in this is Sergio Perez for Red Bull. I know he's in talks at the moment. Looks like he'll either be in a Cadillac or an Alpine next year. Personally, I think Cadillac will be the best bet because, of course, it's the American market. And I think Bottas might find himself in the Alpine with the Mercedes links, because they're going to be a Mercedes-Benz powertrain customer team next year, which I think is quite crazy. So anyway, we make a tight move down the inside on Perez, and just as it finishes, we capture it to Ocon to get more points. And of course, it's all in a little montage, so it's just basically showcasing the team throughout the latter part of the year, closing up on, you know, the top guys scoring points, and this was actually a bit of a tougher challenge, which I have to be honest took me a few attempts to get spot on and to just keep it nice and clean, but it was a lot of fun to do, which is good because it should be a bit of natural progression. I also like Mexico City as a track. I really like the heavy braking zones. particularly after the main straight. You can get some really interesting overtakes. There's Cortez helping me out as we go past Fernando Alonso. Of course, in the film, he would have been an Aston Martin driver. You can ignore me on that one. The years blur a little bit of late. The cars are getting a lot similar. I'm looking forward to next season, of course, with the new regulation change. I always think it's exciting to see. I think this generation of car has been a step in the right direction, but it hasn't quite done what we wanted. But it does work in some cases. It's better. It's just a little bit too much dirty air. And the film talks a little bit about that as well, which I think was at the time a bit more based on 2020, 2021's aerodynamics, but dirty air is still a problem. But basically, all we have to do is finish 5th, and it did get a little bit close there, of course. But having a look at the gap, we are closing into Hulkenberg quite nicely now. It did take a bit of practice to do, and the car definitely felt a little bit more slippy here, and you can really feel that out of the turns, and also just the general top speed. Unless you've got DRS and ERS, it was definitely a bit more of a sluggish car. But again, sticking with the movie, as there we go, Nico there. I really like with the Haas is the Toyota branding. I drive a Toyota, so it's been really good to see Toyota back in F1 after all these years, albeit as a technical partner. Hey, I take it over nothing. And although Red Bull and VCAR were my two teams, I've got to say I've grown a little soft spot for my Haas Toyota guys, and they were fantastic at Goodwood this year as well. An amazing showcase from Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman. But into turn 1 now, nice easy move. I just love when you can dart to the sides in these cars. They really do just dig in quite nicely. And now we're going to the next chapter, which will be at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, the Belgian Grand Prix. Now, there is a little bit of story development here, which I should mention, and put simply, Joshua Pearce, after having his horrific accident, has now come back. And of course, there is a contact in the first lap between Hayes and Pearce is out with an injury, which is a little bit of a shame. Well, not out with an injury, he's out with car problem. I don't know where I was going with that, I'm thinking earlier on. But yes, he was out, of course, and it meant that we had to take the time penalty or the drive-through and then get back out and just make as many positions as we can. It's quite... These challenges in the latter part of the game do get a bit more simple, but what I did like as well was when you look through, you can see all of the driver names from previous season, which I thought was quite cool, to be honest. So, again, nice little nod there. Again, wish it had been 2023. I don't see why it would have been a problem. They've still got the license for 23 ongoing, if I'm correct. EA is a little bit weird, though, with their, historic licenses. I know they seem to drop them quite quick. I don't think the games stay on... their shelf life is much shorter now, which makes a lot of sense. No one's buying F1 22 and F1 23. But, that is what is the case usually. I think they do try and release them free for a bit on EA Play. So you can pick them up if you really want to, but I don't see why you would, because you might as well just get the latest one and have the latest cars, unless there was something specific about the older games you like. I mean, personally, I think the game has been the exact same since 2022 at minimum. A few minor adjustments here and there. And I have to say, F1 25 has got some of the better handling. Last year was a step in the right direction, but I know they've had Max Verstappen come in and have a big say in the games now, which has been pretty good. And he's known for being very pointy with where he likes the car. So, but anyway, we're going past Piastri, and we've now closed in on Albon, and we just sliced through past him. And now it's giving us a cutscene which doesn't really have anything to do with the actual film as such. But I think they just wanted to showcase it. But if you have a look at the car closely, you would have noticed that was Sonny Hayes. But we were playing as Joshua Pearce. Yeah, nice one. Nice one, EA. I really like what they did there, because that was not good at all. That was just poor attention to detail. But anyhow, look, it's a little DLC. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but it does kill it a bit. And it means I had that in my mind, thinking, I'm going to get confused a little bit here with some of the different... guys. Now we're going up to the final race, and if you really don't want to know what happens, yeah, I'd click off now. Okay, I'm going to talk about it. So, final race, of course, Sonny Hayes also had a horrible accident in Vegas, which really knocked him sideways, and he managed to convince Ruben Cervantes, the team principal and his friend, who he used to be his teammate at Lotus, to give him one last shot and let him do his final race. And basically, Apex GP throughout the film are in a bit of financial dire, and they want to sell up the team because they haven't won a race, even though Haas have never won a race and they're still going strong, but that's neither here or there. What this does mean is that there's a bit of that good old classic final race high stakes. So we're now playing as Pierce first, and the guys are leapfrogging to try and, you know, hold the team back. They hold the other competition back, which means it becomes quite interesting. Again, it feels like basically they watched the Monaco Grand Prix of this year and went, yes, all right, we'll do that. We'll just hold everyone up. Although they probably wrote this point before, but it does actually feel like Monaco Grand Prix 2025, the movie, sometimes, with the comedic, let's just hold everyone up. I mean, in reality, it wouldn't work like that at all, and teams would be a lot more creative. But listen, I'm knocking the problems with the film. Truth is, it's still pretty good, and it was amazing to watch it in the cinema. I ended up actually even going to see it a third time. It was an opportunity to get out of the heat wave and into some air-conditioned room, which was just lovely. And, you know, this film actually did look and sound amazing. There's some really nice scenes as well, which I want to just mention on top of that. There's fantastic scenes from the Mercedes-Benz sim rigs in Brackley. Of course, that's where the drivers do their simulation testing. And also, if you notice, there's a scene where they're doing aerodynamics work. That's the Williams wind tunnel, and I think it looked absolutely stunning. So, yeah, absolutely love it. I thought it was really cool to see some stuff like that. And also just the camera action and everything. Yeah, they really did a good job with the film overall. And it's been great for F1, and the music is amazing. Now, we're coming up to the final part. Basically, Joshua Pierce, he has a little bit of a crash with Lewis Hamilton. And, well, actually, we're still got Joshua Pierce up first. I think they got rid of that and basically just made it where you play as Hayes. But yes, Pierce actually has a crash, but I noticed they got rid of that. And also it's different drivers up front because it was meant to be Sainz and Russell. But again, I think they were trying to hide some spoilers. That's why I gave you heads up, so that way we could talk about the little differences. And I think it would be nice if they tweaked it after and maybe updated it, especially once the film's out on Apple TV. But again, I don't think they'll touch it now. I think it's one of those modes where they did it once and that's it. And you can again see the film grain effect. It really does look like that in the movie. They did go for the darkness in some of these track scenes, while at the same time they also had some really nice lighting shots with the desert as of course everything approaches the final race. Now coming up to the end of the race, and I've still not got past Lewis. We're just going to charge through now and pretty much just go for a nice ballsy overtake using the ERS. Oh, here we go. Perfect. A little bit ballsy, but hey, the door was open. You know, you no longer go for gap, etc., etc. That's what our good old friend Ayrton Senna would say, and used by every sim racer since the beginning to justify ramming someone off the circuit. But yeah, great little challenge thing overall. I'm glad they put it in still. Like, it was still enjoyable to play. And we now end up with another little cutscene of Sunny Hayes celebrating. Again, I think they did want to hide the main plot and just sort of showcase. I think, well, it was sort of mixture. I don't really want to go into the details of the romance with the technical director and everything like that, which they didn't need to do that at all. I thought that was a little bit off. Okay, I get they're trying to cater the film for everyone, but let's not go for too many heavy cliches. Now, when you finish the mode, you do get Sonny's helmet, and also as well, when you did the preview, you had Joshua Pierce's one as well, so those are now unlocked on the account. And I wanted to just have a little bit of fun afterwards, and I decided to go on to Gran Turismo, because if there's one thing Gran Turismo is very good at, it's sports car racing. Okay, and at the beginning of the film, and it's one of the best things, if you don't even watch the movie or want to see the whole thing, go and watch the first 5 minutes of it when it comes out, because the opening sequence with Sonny getting out of a bed in his little RV van and swapping over in the Daytona 24 is quite impressive. And of course, he drives a GT3 car. The closest you can get in Gran Turismo is the Porsche RSR, but you can dress it up, of course, in the colours of Chip Heart Racing, and you can recreate this a little bit. I thought I'd show you it as a bit of fun at the end, because why not? Because it's an awesome scene, and it's fun to drive this car as well in Gran Turismo. I've got to be honest, of the two games, I think I'd rather play Gran Turismo. I like F1 25, but I like this a little bit more. And yeah, but there we go, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. It's been cool to document and log and just showcase some of the fun stuff in F1 25 for the movie, and it's worth doing. You know, you can kill an hour doing it, basically, or an hour and a half, and why not? If you bought the game and you have access to it, do it. And you get some cool helmets, which you can showcase online or in your career mode. And of course, you can also play as Apex GP in the career mode, which I have debated doing a team career mode, because I've never actually done one at all. So I'm very tempted to do one with the Apex GP, and you know, maybe we take them to glory. Maybe I'm due an F1 career mode. Everyone liked it when I did F1 Championship Edition. Anyway, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Goodbye for now.